Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually filming a video that I've never done and I'm kind of excited about it because I think this is going to become a monthly video. Yeah, I think this is going to become a monthly video because I'm just reading so many books that I can't really get all of them in vlogs, but I still want you guys to know my thoughts on everything that I'm reading, and I thought this was a good way. So I have my journal here to remind me of all of my thoughts. But this month, as I'm filming this, it is the 27th, I think, of February. Did I say March at any point? I meant February if I did. It's the 27th, yeah, 27th of February, so there is still 2 days left, but I don't think I will finish any more books. And if I do, maybe I'll just mention them in my next wrap up. So, I read a lot. I believe so far I have read 13 books this month. So we have a lot to talk about and it's going to take a while, so I hope you guys are ready. I hope you're interested. I'm going to do it in order of how I finished them, and yeah, I guess we just need to get started. So the first book I finished in February was Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I had to read this for university. I am glad I did, but it was not, you know, my favourite thing in the whole world. It was good. It's obviously like a huge book in English literary history. I did end up giving it 3 stars, which I think for a classic is a good rating. It's rare that I'm ever gonna find a 5-star read that is a classic. I think 3 stars for a classic is a very good rating. But with that being said, I did not love it, obviously. Charles Dickens, I think, just isn't my like absolute favourite vibe. But I can, you know, respect the craft. I can respect how influential and popular and important he was at the time and also now. He's just, you know, one of the biggest authors ever. But yeah, I just don't really love this. If you don't know, this book follows our main character Pip, and basically his journey from kind of a common boy. He wasn't, you know, the poorest of children. His brother-in-law, basically his sister takes him in and acts as his mother, kind of, because she doesn't really like him and she's kind of abusive. But, you know, his sister and her husband are kind of parental figures to him. So his brother-in-law Joe is a blacksmith, so, you know, they're not super poor. That's a very important job at the time. He would have made some decent money being the blacksmith, but he wasn't rich. And then he kind of, this whole book is kind of his journey on how he does become well off and kind of how he deals with that, how his personality changes, how the attitudes of people around him change, how just everything changes. Basically, this book is about change. And it was definitely interesting to see how Pip dealt with these struggles. Basically someone like gives him money anonymously, like a lot of money, to make him a gentleman, and it was very interesting to see how he dealt with learning who gave him the money. I think he came across quite ungrateful, but it's a whole thing and you kind of have to read the book to understand how it's kind of morally like you're in two sides about it. I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe, but it was very interesting. But yeah, I'm like waffling about this book. It was just, there's a lot of thoughts with this one, you know? And then on a very different note, a very different pace, vibe, everything, I read Unravel Me. This book, when I get excited about talking about books, my eyes tear up. I don't know why. I'm not gonna cry, guys, don't worry. This book was phenomenal. 5 stars. I didn't do a wrap up for January, but I gave the first book, I think, 3 stars. It was close to a DNF at one point. We don't talk about her. This one, however, was phenomenal. Oh my god. The growth that Juliet goes through in this book is incredible, and it was really empowering to read about, I would say. She's a very different person from the first book, and honestly the reason I nearly DNF'd it was because of how she was in the first book, so this was a very pleasant change for me personally. The romance, I mean, can you see these pink tabs? Was I obsessed or was I obsessed? I mean, Aaron Warner, I think, no, my review in my journal for Aaron's novella, which comes before this book but after the first book, literally I just wrote Aaron Warner, because that's all the explanation you need. He is a phenomenal man. Wow. And he's amazing to read, and I think he also has such a character journey in this book. And then we begin to see the downfall of Adam, but the downfall really happens in the next book, which I will talk about now. I can't really tell you what this book is about, because it is the second book in the series, but the Shatter Me series is a dystopian world where there is this like re-establishment, and they're kind of just like destroying the whole world pretty much, and you know, you can kind of guess something's going on with our main characters. And yeah, also honorable mention, Kenji is the funniest book character I have ever encountered, ever. He's hilarious. No, let's go in order of how I read them. Okay, I read a few books in between Unravel Me and Ignite Me, so we'll wait. I'll keep you on your toes. Next, I finished A Curious Beginning. I won't say too much about this one because I talk about it a lot in my Boyfriend Picks My TBR video, so if you haven't seen that and you're interested, you should go and watch it. It was a really fun video. But this... Police sirens? This is a Victorian set mystery series book. We're following our main character, Veronica Speedwell, whom I love. I think she's a very enjoyable main character. She's quite different to anything that I've read before, and I really like it. And I also love Stoker because he is the true definition of grumpy. He's just amazing. And in this book, she goes to live, or she's taken in by this baron, but she doesn't like live with him. He takes her to Stoker's workshop / apartment, and while she's staying there, basically this baron is very scared for her safety. He's very concerned because her true parentage is kind of a mystery to us. We do find out at the end of this book. It's a mystery to us, it's a mystery to her, but it is not a mystery to the Baron, and clearly it's not a mystery to some other people either, because she's in some serious danger, and the Baron is very, very concerned about this. Yeah, the Baron's super concerned, so he leaves her with Stoker to kind of protect her, and while she is with Stoker, the Baron dies. He's murdered. And that's kind of all I can say without giving spoilers, but the rest of the book, you know, they're trying to keep Veronica safe, and then eventually they do start to try and think, wait, who actually killed him? Like, he was worried about your safety and now he's dead, like, what is going on? But it was really good, and in a couple of days, if you're watching this the day this video is out, in a couple of days my TBR for March will be up, and you can see me speak about the next book. And then Adam. In this book, it's not Unite Me, I didn't read both of them. I read specifically Fracture Me. This is a bind up of Destroy Me and Fracture Me. Fracture Me. Oh, by the way, I gave A Curious Beginning 4 stars, if you didn't watch my other video. Fracture Me, on the other hand, I gave 2 stars. I hate Adam with a burning passion. If you have read ACOTAR, he is Tamlin. basically. Need I say more? I just don't like him. He didn't necessarily do anything bad in this book, but because I don't like him, I just didn't really care for it. You know? Like, it was fine. It basically follows the last 100 pages of Unravel Me from Adam's perspective. It was nice to know what was kind of going on their end and what they were thinking about the events of the last like 100 pages. But I also just kind of didn't care because I was in Adam's head and I just like kind of couldn't care less. So yeah, 2 stars, you know, like whatever. And then again, another book that was featured in My Boyfriend Chooses My TBR video is Feybound. I gave this book 4 stars. Again, I won't talk about it too much because I spoke about it a whole bunch in that video. But this is a new fantasy trilogy by Sarah El Arifi. And it is really, really good. The representation in this book is phenomenal. I think it's a completely POC cast of characters. Lots of LGBTQIA+ representation. There's disability representation. It's just amazing. But also the story I personally loved. I've seen some mixed opinions, to be honest, but I really enjoyed it. We have our 2 sisters who are Elven, and one of them fights in the Elven army, and she does something wrong, so she's exiled. And her sister goes after her, and, you know, not far in, they find themselves in amongst a Fae court. But the Fae haven't been seen for a millennium. They didn't think they existed anymore. So it's like a huge shock and twist. And then for the rest of the book, we kind of see them in this Fae court, coming to terms with it, accepting it. I found it very interesting to see the internal, you know, conflict between them wanting to go back to their elven lives and what they know in their homes, but also they're putting some roots in this Fae world. And kind of, you know, that conflict of wanting to stay but wanting to go home. It's almost like they kind of want the best of both worlds, but they can't, and it's a very interesting struggle to see the characters go through, and I'm so excited for the rest of the series. I hope it comes out, you know, kind of soon. And then, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. Ignite me. This is the best book I've ever read. Phenomenal piece of work. The most fun time book I have ever read. I have never had more of a bodily reaction to a book in my life. I was squealing, kicking my feet, like just, you know, an out-of-body experience with this book, Ignite Me. Aaron Warner, the man that you are in this book, is indescribable. Wow! Again, if I couldn't explain the last one, I can't really explain this one, but a lot happens. And this was originally the end to the series, and I have to say, if it was the end of the series, the ending is underwhelming. Is this the best book I've ever read? Yes. Is that more because of the characters than the plot? Yes. Plot was maybe lacking. I think what happened in the end was way too easy, and it happened in like 20 pages, and it was very anticlimactic. If I was reading this at the time where we thought this was going to be the last novel in the series, I would have been very unhappy. But I'm not, because there's another like 4 books to read. Three books and like 3 novellas. So I'm happy, you know? But the characters really drive this book. They're amazing. What isn't amazing is Adam. If I didn't hate him before, some of the things that this man says in this book is so disgusting. And I'm honestly just like, why are you even here? Like, leave. And I feel like she's trying to give him a redemption arc in Destroy Me. No, in, what's it called? Restore Me. She's trying to give him a redemption arc in Restore Me, and I don't care. Don't care. This book, read it. And then I did a little bit of a romance readathon just for myself. I read 3 books during it. And I did have a really fun time. So the first book I completed in that readathon was Checkmate by Ali Hazelwood. This was a really fun time. However, I do have a bone to pick with it because it's being marketed as a young adult, and I would disagree with that. I think it is a new adult, although I have heard, you know, publishers kind of like to pretend that that genre doesn't exist. It's kind of like young adult or adult. This is new adult, for sure. There are some topics and themes that are discussed that you really don't commonly see in YA books, and if you have, they have since had a genre change. You know, like, there was a lot, and it's not a bad thing, like, there was a lot of positive talk and outlook on, like, sex and, like, sex outside of relationships, but that, to me, is not YA discussion. It was very new adult. So if you are reading this, go in, you know, not thinking it's, like, the most YA-y. That being said, there was a sex scene, kind of, but it fades to black. You don't see a lot, you know, like, it kind of cuts off. So it's not adult by any means, but it's not really YA. But I haven't even said what this is about. So this is a chess romance book. We follow our main character, Mallory Greenleaf. She was an amazing chess player, and then something, you know, kind of happened in the family, and then she never played again for like years. And then we kind of open up the book with her friend being like, please, can you just compete in this chess tournament with me? Like, one of our team members has fallen through and we really need to compete. And she says, you know what, fine. And at this little, like, tiny chess tournament, the world's best chess player is there, and she beats him. It's like a charity thing. Sorry, I just saw in the blurb. I remember now. It's a charity, like, chess tournament. And yeah, she beats Nolan, who is the best chess player in the world. He's #1 in the world. She beats him, no problems. No problems. So obviously, this gets the attention of the whole of the chess world, and it kind of spirals from there. And I have to admit, it is really fun. I didn't particularly care for the romance. I feel like, I don't know, there wasn't enough in it for me. Also, Mallory, I did quite like her, but at the end she did also come across as quite ungrateful. Also, she has a character who is a best friend who asks her to do the chess tournament at the beginning of the book. I did not like how all of that went down. If you've read it, you know what I mean. I did not vibe with that depiction of that friendship. Not a fan. But that being said, I did give it 4 stars because romances I rate on vibes, and it was a really fun time. And then, I'm really not sure how I feel about this book, but the next book I read was Icebreaker. They weren't kidding when they said this is with a plot. The amount of smut scenes in this book is literally insane. It's crazy, and so early on as well. I do think it is refreshing to, you know, see such a sex positive book and story, but it was maybe a little bit much. I gave it 3.75 at the time. I'm still not 100% sure with that rating. It may be more like a 3.5. Again, I wasn't too invested in the actual romance between the 2 characters. We have Anastasia and Nate. I did like both of them, and what I really appreciated was both of their relationships with his fellow hockey team members. I really, really appreciated that, and I really liked it. I love seeing strong friendships in books. What I hated was her friend Aaron. Literally another Tamlin. I mean, can people stop writing Tamlins? But yeah, it was okay. If you're looking for just like a silly, goofy, smarty vibe, this is your book, but like it's not the best thing I've ever read. The final book I read in that readathon was The Right Move by Liz Tomford. she knows how to do a romance book. I have to admit, this was good. I really, really enjoyed this. The only thing I disliked is that I did feel like it was a little bit long, and because of that it didn't quite reach a 5 stars, but I did give it 4.5 stars. So if you've read Mile High, this is following Stevie's brother and her best friend Indy. We have basically Indy's, we find this out in Mile High, Indy's boyfriend of like 6 years cheated on her. It was really sad and she really struggles with it. It was, you know, quite a long-term relationship and he just threw it all away. So she has nowhere to live, so Stevie, her best friend, and the guy, Ryan's sister, is like, why don't you move in with my brother? And then she's like to the brother, like, this has happened to Indy, please let her stay here. And he's like, no. And then he's like, okay, fine. And Indy moves in, and obviously, like, you know, it's kind of forced proximity, I guess, because they have to like stay in the same apartment. But also we have a fake dating scheme within this book, which I do personally love. And at first they're fake dating for, you know, he is an NBA star, and the boss of like his team prefers like the team members that have girlfriends because they have like little dinners every week and stuff. And Ryan is like, I need to get in on that. Like, if I want to excel in this team, I need to get in on that. So him and Indy fake date for that, and then she has like a wedding coming up with all of the friends that are still friends with her ex. So they fake date for that, but obviously throughout the book they fall in love. And Ryan has a lot of dark things haunting him from his past, which means he, you know, he has some barriers up. And there's a lot of, you know, working through some mental blocks within their relationship, but it is so good. It is just a little bit too long. This is a, I want to say 500 page book, pretty much. 4 pages of 500 pages. That is too long for a romance book, in my opinion. I loved them, but near the end, it was kind of like, you know, also the conflict, they didn't break up, but like, you know, something that like separates them for a couple chapters kind of annoyed me. But other than that, I did really love it and I gave it 4.5 stars. Then the next book I read was Cursed by Marissa Meyer. Again, in that same Boyfriend Fix My TBR video, I read Gilded and I really enjoyed it, so I got Cursed. Because this is the second book, I can't give you too much of a description on this one, but the duology is like a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. This girl, Serelda, she lies to this king and says that she can spin straw into gold, so he takes her to his castle and she can't do that. So then, you know, someone shows up who can do that for her, and a little bit of a romance ensues. A little one, I didn't care for it too much, but I did really enjoy the plot and the storyline of this, so I did pick up the second one, which I gave 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I liked how it all played out. I liked what happened. I was very interested. I really enjoyed it, to be honest. I think I would recommend this duology of Gilded and Cursed. It's pretty good. I did then finish my audiobook of House of Earth and Blood, which is Crescent City book 1. I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, which I didn't think I was, because when I read it for the first time, I think I gave it 4 stars. And then as I sat on it, you know, for a couple of years, I was like, what the hell was that? Like, what was that book? Like, what even happened? Like, it was kind of crap. And then I listened to the audiobook, and that changed the reading experience on a whole nother level. It was very, very enjoyable. And I actually ended up giving it 5 stars, which is crazy. I wasn't really expecting, you know, that to happen, but it did. And, you know, I was invested. Previously, I did use as a criticism the amount of different mythical creatures that were in this world, and it was a little bit overwhelming. But this read-through, I actually really enjoyed it and appreciated it, and it was kind of refreshing to not focus on just like one or two species. Like there was a lot going on. Also, I love books that follow figuring out a crime. I love it, and obviously that's what this is. If you don't know, basically we open the book with Bryce and her best friend Danica, and Danica is in a wolf pack, and she has all of her wolves in her pack, and Bryce goes out clubbing for the night without them. They have to stay at home for some reason that I don't remember, and basically when Bryce gets home, they've all been very, very brutally murdered by a demon called the Crystallis demon, is what, you know, they think happened. And the whole book, basically there's like a time jump, and then, you know, similar things are kind of happening again, I believe. I'm kind of foggy. But the archangel of the city, who's basically like the guy in charge, asks Bryce to investigate the murder because she, you know, knows more about Danica, the best friend, than anyone else does. So she kind of investigates the murder, and the whole book is her and Hunt, who has been sent to, you know, kind of look after her. They're trying to figure out what actually happened. And it's so interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And that ending, the last like 100 pages, like I cried a couple times. I really liked it. I know I shouldn't, but I did. So yeah. And then, okay, 2 more books. Sorry, this is kind of a long video. I read a lot. Then I finally finished Heroes of Olympus. Again, I've been reading this book, I think since December. So it took me a couple of months, and I have to admit, I love Percy Jackson. I love the Percy Jackson world. This one just did not do it for me. So this is The Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series, and we are following mainly Jason, but also Piper and Leo. And when we open this book, we basically open with Jason being really confused because he does not know where he is, he does not know who he is, he does not know who these people are. He's just very, very confused, but everyone around him knows who he is. And you know, as the book kind of progresses, we learn, I mean, the blurbs don't really give you much information, but we basically learn he has had his memory wiped for a reason, which we do learn, and he kind of has to go on this quest to help save a goddess, sorry, and he takes Leo and Piper with him. I did like the characters, and I did quite like their dynamic. I just didn't care, really. I missed Percy and Annabeth being, you know, huge central parts of the story. Percy is kind of a central part of the plot, but he's not in the book. So I do think I'm going to enjoy the next one more because I know for a fact he's in the next book. But this one, yeah, sadly it just didn't really do it for me. I don't know if I said, but I gave it 3.5 stars. So. And then the final book I read in February was a reread. You will see in my TBR video, I have a couple of Holly Black books that I will be reading. But I did read Wicked King. This was in preparation of a reread for The Stolen Heir, which I am rereading, but I haven't had time to get to The Queen of Nothing. So we're cutting this reread at, you know, short with The Wicked King. But obviously I love this. I gave it 5 stars, of course. I will probably never give a Holly Black book anything less than 5 stars if it involves this world and these characters. I just love it so much. This is a sequel, but The Cruel Prince, we're following Jude, who is a mortal girl who was taken to Fairy by her sister's father after he murders their parents. It's a really wild opening to the book. But then they grew up in Fairy for a very long time, and it's kind of her climbing to more power. throughout the whole book, and it's really wild, and she's so clever, and she's one of the best Morley Grey characters I've ever read. And this is the sequel, which, you know, we see the after effects of what happens in the first book, and just a lot happens, and it's crazy, and that ending will always be so wild because Jude is such a smart character, but when she is blindsided, she's not as smart, and, you know, it really changes the whole plot because she can't, you know, figure something out. But yeah, gave that one 5 stars, and that is everything I read in February. I hope, you know, maybe you've been inspired to read a couple of books by me talking about them today, because I did read a lot of pretty decent books this month. Yeah, I don't think I'll finish anything else this month, so that's what I read. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, you know, maybe let me know a couple of the books that you finished this month, maybe your favourite book that you read this month, if you've read anything. And yeah, I will see you in my next video, which will be my March TBR video. Thank you, bye!